Hey everyone, now while the new DJI Neo 2 is not so much of a surprise, some of the new features are. And after testing this drone for the past few weeks, I would love to tell you the 10 things you need to know, along with a closer look at the upgrades compared to the older model, and we will take a look at some side-by-side comparison footage to help you decide if it's worth upgrading, or if you're considering purchasing the DJI Neo 2 to help you work out if it's the right drone for you. Now, if at any time during this video you would like to find out more about this drone or pick it up, I put links in the description down below where you can do just that. Alright, let's not waste any time and jump right in. Now, just quickly looking at the new darker grey design, which just like before does not fold and is a little bit larger and heavier, you can see there are quite a few differences. So let's now go through them one by one, starting with the camera. And while on paper it has the same half-inch sensor as before, in my testing the video quality is substantially better. Even in good lighting, you will notice more detail, less noise and grain, better colours, and if shooting in high contrast situations such as sunrise or sunset, more dynamic range. Whereas previously, I would have said the Neo's video quality was really only good for social media platforms like Instagram, where it would be viewed on smaller devices, the Neo 2's footage is surprisingly good even when viewed on larger screens. Nighttime footage, however, despite a slightly wider aperture of f2.2 and an increased ISO limit of 12,800 resulting in brighter footage, is still quite grainy and soft. Now in terms of resolutions, the Neo 2 also gets upgraded to allow 4K 60 FPS without a controller compared to only 4K 30 on the older Neo. There is also the option for 2.7K vertical shooting, however this is just a crop as the camera doesn't physically rotate. Speaking of the gimbal, whereas we previously only had single-axis tilt stabilization with the rest handled electronically, the Neo 2's gimbal now stabilizes two-axis, the tilt and roll, and this combined with Rocksteady provides much smoother footage, especially in lower light when electronic stabilization typically starts to suffer. Worth mentioning that the Neo 2 only has one color profile, normal. We don't get access to a flatter color profile like D-Log M, for example. Photos also remain unchanged, with the Neo 2 being able to capture 12 megapixel images in JPEG only, and the photos and videos get stored internally. There's no microSD card slot. However, this internal storage has been increased to 49 gigabytes, up from 22. Now, just like before, there are a few ways to use the Neo 2. Fully autonomously without a controller, using your smartphone, with a controller such as the DJI RC-N3 or RC2, although this does require a new digital transceiver, which we'll take a look at shortly, or if you own the Goggles 3 or Goggles N3, you can fly with either the motion controller or FPV remote controller 3. But first, let's take a look at the improvements to the autonomous flight mode. As before, you simply select a quick shot mode on the drone itself, such as follow, place it on your palm, press the takeoff button, and the drone will automatically take off and perform that maneuver. However, unlike the original Neo, which had these quick shot mode indicator lights, we now get this much better screen on the front, and a few additional buttons on the side, which allows you to adjust the quick shot parameters, such as follow height or distance on the drone itself, something that previously you had to pair the Neo to your smartphone to do, which was very inconvenient. There's also a new indicator light on the front, letting you know when the Neo is capturing footage, and unlike with the older model, where when you wanted to land the drone, you had to physically walk towards it and place your hand underneath, which sometimes didn't work. With this new model, you don't need to move at all. Simply show it your palm and it will automatically fly back towards you and land in your hand, and this works much more reliably in my testing. We also get a range of new additional quick shot modes, including dolly zoom and my favourite, master shots, which when used has the drone automatically capture a series of clips using different moves and perspectives to create a finished sequence around a minute and a half long. These can be added to the Neo 2 using the smartphone app, and then they will always be available to select on the drone's screen. But what if when the Neo 2 is in the air following you, you want to adjust the tracking angle, altitude or distance? Well, with the older model, this required you palm land it, connect it to your smartphone, adjust the settings, and then take it back off again. Quite inconvenient. Now, however, the Neo 2 comes with a new feature called gesture control, which honestly works like magic. So with the drone still in the air, if you show it a raised palm instead of a flat one, you can then move your hand left, right, up or down to adjust the drone's position, or with both your hands facing it, move them apart to make the drone fly further away, and bringing them together makes the drone come closer. Now, speaking of tracking, this has also got some pretty substantial upgrades. As with the previous model, you could only have the drone track from in front, behind, or to either side. Now, however, using the buttons on the drone or the smartphone app, you get much more flexibility using a trace wheel similar to what we see on the likes of the Mini 5 Pro, allowing you to position the drone in places such as to your front left or back right. Also, using this trace wheel, you can move the drone between 2 points as it tracks you to get more dynamic shots. The Neo 2 now also supports tracking if you are on a bike, cycling, and the max tracking speed has been increased from 8 meters per second to 12 to help it keep up. Now, while the Neo 2 won't track vehicles when paired with only your smartphone, if you use a controller, in my testing, I found it will actually track cars, and I was very impressed with just how well this little drone was able to keep up and how smooth the tracking was. Now, a big upgrade, which not only makes the tracking smoother but safer, is the addition of this forward-facing LiDAR sensor and 2 obstacle avoidance sensors on the top and bottom, giving this drone omnidirectional obstacle avoidance, which is crazy to see on an entry-level drone like this. Whereas the original Neo had no obstacle avoidance and would crash into anything that got in its way while tracking, the Neo 2 can bypass obstacles and continue to track. Or if you're flying it manually, it can automatically brake to avoid a collision. These new sensors also fix one of the original Neo's biggest issues, and that was you couldn't fly it safely over water. The older sensors would get confused, and it not only struggled to hold its position, but also would drift down towards the water. Not ideal. With the Neo 2, however, this is no longer an issue, as it's capable of flying over water, snow or cliff edges without any issues and remaining stable. Another big issue when flying the original Neo with your smartphone was that if it was over water and you lost signal, there was no return to home feature. The drone would simply hover in place until you could get physically closer to regain connection, which sometimes over water was not possible. Now, thankfully, and this is a fantastic addition, with the Neo 2, when you're flying it with your smartphone, return to home is available. So if you do lose signal, the drone will just automatically return back to the home point, which is where you took it off from. However, you should also experience less signal dropouts, as again the Wi-Fi signal range has been improved substantially compared to the first model. As you can see in my testing, the Neo's connection breaks down even at a short distance away, while the Neo 2 continues uninterrupted with no issues, and DJI is claiming up to 500 meters of range. Now, this is when you're flying the Neo with your smartphone. However, if you wish to fly it with a controller, there is an additional accessory required that I mentioned earlier. With the Neo 2, you need this digital transceiver, which comes with the Fly More combo, to be able to fly with a controller. And this simply plugs into the back of the drone and then secures with 4 screws to avoid it coming loose if you crash. And this transceiver, with its characterful antennas, makes the video connection much more reliable in my testing, with a max transmission distance of 10 kilometers FCC or 6 kilometers CE. Now, one of the things that made the first Neo so good was its crash resilience, and this new model is no different. I'm not ashamed to admit I've had a few crashes in sport mode when obstacle avoidance was off, and this drone doesn't even have a mark. And that is partly due to these detachable prop guards protecting the propellers from all angles, but also these new bumpers on the front that keep the camera and gimbal safe. Underneath these prop guards, however, you can see the propellers have a distinctive new shape, and this combined with a slightly more aerodynamic design and performance boost not only makes this drone much more capable in fighting against wind. Just take a look at this comparison where you can see the original Neo struggling to hold position, whereas the new Neo 2 has no issue, but also when flying it around in general and getting it into position, you can really feel the difference. I found the original Neo to not really inspire much confidence when flying at higher altitudes, as it was quite jittery, whereas this Neo 2 is surprisingly stable and feels much more robust in the air. The Neo 2 also has a new battery design that snaps into the top And despite all the upgrades, including better transmission, omnidirectional obstacle avoidance, and better performance, the Neo 2 retains the same 17 minutes max rated flight time as the less capable original model. Although in my testing, I'm getting closer to 13 minutes on average in the real world. And just like before, there is a charging hub available with the Firmware combo, and although this has a slightly new design, it does let you simultaneously charge all 3 batteries to 100% in 68 minutes. So, all in all, quite a substantial upgrade to the DJI Neo with this new model, with my personal highlight being the much better video quality that is now much more usable when playing back on larger displays. And because of its relatively low price point, I really do think this is the perfect beginner drone. But I'm keen to know your thoughts. What do you think of the new Neo 2? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you would like to find out more about the Neo 2 or pick it up, again, there is a link in the description down below where you can do just that. Now, before you go, if you liked this video and you learned something new, please let me know by giving me the thumbs up and clicking that like button down below. And if you love all things drones, but also action cameras, gimbals, 360 cameras and more, and want to learn things like the best settings to get up and running quickly, and tips and tricks to help you get better looking images and more cinematic footage from your camera gear, then I recommend you check out my channel where I have a ton of other content to help you level up your game. Now, if you don't want to miss any of my upcoming videos, then I recommend you click that subscribe button down below, and when you're down there, be sure to check the notification bell so that you will be alerted when my new videos are released. It would be greatly appreciated. And if you want to stick around and watch a few more now, here's a few I personally recommend, and I'll not keep you back any further. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you over there.